3 ways successful people think. In this video, we'll discuss 3 ways in which successful people see life differently than the average person, and how to start adapting a successful mentality in practical situations. Number 1. Successful people see opportunities where others see problems. Let me introduce you to Mark and Paul. Mark and Paul have been friends for a long time, and both live in a small village of a few thousand inhabitants. Last night, while driving home, Mark punctured a tire. Since there's only one tire dealer in town and he's fully aware of having the local monopoly in the tire business, he keeps the prices very high. Mark found himself paying almost double the price he would have paid for the same service in a large city. As he always does, Mark started complaining about how ridiculous the situation is and how the tire dealer in question has enriched himself with the money of the poor fellow villagers due to the lack of competition. What Mark sees as a serious problem, however, his friend Paul sees as a great opportunity and begins to think about how much he could earn if he could solve this problem by also starting to sell tires in the village, perhaps at a slightly lower price. Each problem offers an opportunity. It depends on how we approach it. While the average person always sees a problem as a negative thing, the successful person knows that for each problem there's a potential opportunity to be evaluated. Number 2. They clearly understand the reason behind every decision. Did I tell you that Mark and Paul are both passionate about finance? Their approach to the markets, however, is completely different. Mark chooses which companies to invest in based on tips given to him by his cousin Philip. The problem is that Philip does not follow the financial markets. He relies solely on customer conversations that he overhears at the bar where he works and then refers them to his friends and acquaintances, selling himself as an expert in the sector. On the contrary, Paul spends a lot of time studying the various companies in which he decides to invest. He knows in detail the various financial statements, the management, reads the annual reports, studies statistical data and graphs carefully before investing his money in order to make sure he makes the best possible choice. Who do you think shows the best profits in this field, Mark or Paul? Obviously, Paul. While Mark looks for the easy, lazy way to make some money, trusting unreliable sources and therefore letting his success depend largely on luck, behind the choices made by Paul, there's an analytical and pragmatic study based on practical data that influences his decisions. Successful people do not leave their decisions to chance. Instead, they try to gather as much information as possible in order to ensure that they make the best possible decisions. This obviously does not mean that they are never wrong, but their approach drastically increases the possibility that the choice made in a given situation is the best one. Number 3. They take responsibility for their actions. Successful people understand when it is time to leave their ego aside. When something goes wrong, they're happy if it's because of something they were responsible for, because they know that this way they will have full control over it and will be able to make the necessary changes to improve it. Let's see a couple of examples to better understand this concept. Overweight people want to believe it is only because of their slow metabolism. Chronic singles, not by choice, want to believe that there is no right partner out there for them. Poor people want to believe that the system is against them. The problem with this way of thinking is that by convincing themselves that the fact of being overweight, poor, or single is not their fault, they end up doing nothing to improve their situation as they think they have no control over it, instead of actively working on the problem themselves and improving their lives. Looking for excuses for your mistakes is natural for most people, but if we want to improve ourselves, we have to start thinking rationally. Next time we face a problem, we should try to stop for a second and think. And instead of complaining, we should ask ourselves how we can best deal with the situation and see it as an opportunity given to us to learn something new. This is why self-awareness is so important. If we don't know where we stand, we don't know what to do next either. Let's get into the habit of facing our problems with an open mind and acknowledge when we do something wrong. Soon, we'll be able to face all our concerns with the right spirit and in a constructive way. If you enjoyed the video, make sure to push the like button and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already done so. Also, don't forget to activate the notification bell. This way you'll be notified every time a new video is uploaded on the channel. Thanks so much for watching and have a great day.